Hey everyone, CJ here doing my analysis of last week's winner, Matt Jones, and this is the highlights I got off of YouTube from the PGA Tour. But we're going to look at something different this week initially. This is the highlights from the tournament. That's Kuchar hitting the wedge in there. What I want you to notice here when you're looking at Matt Jones, and just sort of watch the putts that are being made between these two guys, you're going to definitely see that putting wins tournaments, short game wins tournaments. But more importantly here, we're going to look at a couple things here. What you're going to notice with Kuchar, you see sort of how he has that forward lean in that shaft, and he has a putter kind of specially designed. Well, what that can do is really kind of lock that left wrist in, and it's really going to kind of put more of the bow in the right wrist. And so what he has to do is just obviously putt it back and through, where it really keeps the left wrist from breaking down. Now, what you're going to see from Matt Jones here is, you can see it in this one as he takes it back, you'll see a slight forward press here. You'll see a slight, let me just kind of slow it down here. You can see right here there's a slight forward press, and as he does that, he lets the putter head get behind his hands. Ben Crenshaw liked to putt with this feeling. Tiger, I know he passed that feeling on to Tiger, where he let the club head get behind his hands in the backswing. Well, from that position, and you're really going to use this for anyone that has a tendency to break that left wrist down. People that have the yips, this is a great little feeling, is that forward press. We know Phil Mickelson has a forward press at times. He kind of goes back and forth. But he really lets this putter, as I'm saying, get behind his hands, and that sort of creates that same image just like Matt Kuchar had, that little bow in the right wrist. Now all he has to do is maintain that on the way through, and it keeps the face really square. Kind of referred to a little bit as a brush stroke, kind of similar to Rory McIlroy's stroke as well, which kind of where that left wrist stays really, really firm. So that's definitely kind of the idea of what's going on a little bit on the tour, is just, again, keeping that left wrist from breaking down. You can see Kuchar there on 17 almost made a great putt, and then obviously here is Matt Jones with this putt on 18. So you can see, guys, yes, these guys on tour, they hit it well. They do. But at the end of the day, they all putt it really well. And as we go forward here, you're going to see Matt Jones hitting just a little low running shot here. This is as he hits this shot, just lets it run up over that hill, and he holds it and goes on to win his first PGA Tour event. So I think that is number 4 this year for Australians. And correct me if I'm wrong, if he's not Australian, I think he is. But again, that's what you are looking at here. Now, just to keep everyone happy, I want to thank I think it was the Salt Lake Junior Academy. They put this on here this is the practice round. This is, and for everyone at home that wants to not just look at putting, this is Matt Jones's swing, and you're going to see just a beautiful golf swing, how that club just traces back along that line. Very parallel lines at this point. The club is on plane. I love the glove hand more in the middle of the chest, just like that. You can see why this kid's going to be around for a while. Very, very simple, efficient golf swing. What you're definitely looking for, again, club face, matching the left forearm. That's a very square position. Notice how that left forearm and the club face match the original shaft plane line. So very good positions there. Very simple. It just seems like this kid's going to be good. Now as he comes down, you're going to see again, parallel to, slightly above the original shaft plane line, shaft going through the top part of the forearm, perfectly on plane, club head covering up the hands. That's so good. And again, as it comes through here, parallel to, slightly above the original shaft plane line. So just a very, very efficient golf swing. Couple things though, and I want to make sure that we understand this from the golf swing standpoint. I want to give the amateurs something that they can take away from this. Alright, and if there's one thing I want you to copy, okay, it is this move in his transition. what you're going to see if I pause it here at the top and I put that line right on his rear end, kind of pay close attention to his belt line here in this transition. You're going to see how he's compressing down. He's going to lose a little bit of height here, which most good players do. They're just using the ground. And you're going to see at this point he's actually got a little move into his left, and that's the transition. He's not spinning. Look at how that right hip stays back. That gives him that little tiny move right there where that right hip stays back. That gives his arms the momentum and the speed to now get going and get his right elbow back in front of his hip. So if I let you watch this kind of in slow motion, pay really close attention to his transition right here, how he's going to kind of lose a little bit of height, but he's using the ground. You can really see how his right hip stays back. That gets his arms to speed up, creates a lot of speed that way, so it's a great power move. But most amateurs, from this point, when they get to the top, and if you are a slicer, this is what you do. That right hip goes forward, and that's the first move. And he's just delaying that right hip ever so slightly. That gives the arms a little bit of speed to get down in front of the body. And that little tiny move is what most amateurs need to accomplish. So, and you'll notice, especially if you're a slicer, if you keep that right hip back just a tiny bit, you'll start hitting more of a penetrating shot, more of a draw. But if you are a slicer, you need to keep the right hip back, and that's what it is. But so this week we talked about several things. We obviously talked about putting and how putting wins tournaments. But more importantly, what we talked about is how Kuchar, even though they're they look different, you're going to see how this left wrist remains flat throughout the entire stroke, and that's the key. And you can see even on the way through. Matt Jones goes about it a different way. He doesn't have a putter that he can anchor against his wrist, but he gets that forward press, gets the club head behind his hands, and then goes ahead and locks that left wrist on the way through. Very similar to McIlroy, and it's pretty much what Dave Stockton is teaching at this point. So I hope you take a lot of information from this video, and I hope, as I'm excited for the Masters to start. I will see you guys next week with the Masters champion.